Hello, everyone. Welcome to today's CorpDev.Ninja. It is August 13th, 2020. I have a dear friend, very special guest here today, live streaming from Dubai, is Sonia. How are you, Sonia? How are you doing?
All well, thank you, Andreas, for having me.
How are things in Dubai these days?
Everything's relatively under control. The borders are actually open since early July, so we actually have tourists that are coming inside the country. I think it's one of the few countries that Americans are allowed in these days. So if you want to come visit me, Andreas, feel free to.
Exactly. I think we've been pretty much banned or booted from every other, most other countries. I think Turkey's also another country where we're not banned. Maybe Brazil, not even, but Brazil has a pretty bad situation as well.
Yeah, probably don't want to go there.
How have you been holding up during the quarantine? I think Dubai had a relatively late start, I think, to the pandemic, and I think managed it. From my understanding, from what I've read and all my friends in Dubai, whom I've followed up in the past few months, it seems like pretty well contained.
Yeah, I have to say, I think I started working from home on March 10th. I am still working from home, so it's been a while now.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think the government did a great job, at least in containing. Everyone is pretty diligent with masks. Even today, when Dubai is 100% open now, so the restaurants are open, etc., and the malls are open, etc., but everyone is wearing their masks, except obviously while they're eating, etc. But no, I think it was well managed given the circumstances. I think everyone had kind of obviously issues adjusting on several fronts. I guess in my case, I'm fortunate that I have a garden and and I have space. So I was alone. I have been alone throughout. Me and my little rescue cat. But I think
How is she doing? Your rescue cat?
Fine. She's fine. She zooms around all over the place with her two front legs because she's disabled with her back legs.
Yeah.
So she's been my little companion, my lockdown companion, essentially.
Have you been taking up to new hobbies? Any new kind of cuisines or dishes you've either made or invented? Because I've been doing tons of cooking.
I'm sure you have, because I remember that from how long have we known each other for, Andreas? 12 years now?
No longer. I think 15, no, 16 years. 16
Wow.
years, maybe a little over 16, but yes.
Yes. Well, you've always been a fantastic cook in these last 16 years. So I am not surprised that you took cooking up during the lockdown. I did not.
Okay.
So I don't like cooking for myself. I like cooking for others. So if I'm hosting a dinner party, then I love to cook, but I don't like to cook for myself. No, so I mean, did I take up some hobbies? Yes. You're gonna laugh, but I was a bit worried about how I was gonna stay in shape. So I didn't buy like any indoor equipment or anything. What I did buy is a step. Do you know what a step
Oh,
is?
like it's like half a foot like in height, and you just like step on and step down like yeah,
Yeah,
a step
very
plank.
like 80s type. Yep. So lots of videos on YouTube. So I just stream my videos on YouTube and I step around.
Wow. Any particular exercise channels? Why not using any of the apps? And I'll do a selfish shout out to FitOn, which is a company I invested in, and they're one of the fastest growing health and fitness apps out there. Why not use more kind of an engaged app versus YouTube, or just out of curiosity?
No, I did. The good point. I think I already spent so much time on my phone. I didn't necessarily want to download another app. I did eventually get a stationary bike, which has been effective and is not acting as a clothes hanger as most people feared.
Is it a Peloton or is it like a proper bike?
It's not a Peloton, just a regular bike, but it's nice because I can put my phone and just like listen to podcasts. Been
Yeah.
listening to Michelle Obama's podcast on Spotify.
Oh yeah.
Um, And no, what I did recently download is I started intermittent fasting, and so I downloaded Zero, which is an
Yep.
app that just keeps track of your fasts.
Yeah.
So I just downloaded it last week and started intermittent fasting 3 times a week. So that's kind of a gamification of an experience, I guess. But no, other than that, I painted. I also downloaded Inside Timer, which I quite like. I don't know if you've checked it out. It's a meditation app, guided meditation app. And that's actually been wonderful because it's 15-minute meditations. And so, yeah, I think I just really took the time to just also disconnect. Like all these apps, fantastic, but like, we spend so much time in front of our screens these days.
That's right.
You don't, I mean, I know you just got a cat as well. So I feel like it's a welcome distraction when you have, another person, obviously a human or another animal, because at least you're not stuck to your screens all the time.
That's right. I did find my spirit animal. Her name is Sonia, and she's a Bengal kitten. She's amazing. I'll have to have her on the show at some point, but she's wild. Like she'll jump in my headrest, and she's super vocal as Bengals are. So eventually I'll have to give her a cameo Mia appearance on the show. So with that, let's get into the meat and potatoes. And for your vegans out there, mash and peas. Sonia is a founding partner of VentureSouq, a UAE-based investment platform focused on global early-stage tech-enabled businesses. Previously, she worked with Microsoft, Viacom, and Turner in London and in Dubai. And I know Sonia back from the London days. She's a charter member and board director of TIE's Dubai chapter, serves as UAE Director for the Yale Alumni Schools Committee, and is a board member and mentor for E7 Daughters of the Emirates. She holds a BA from Yale and a master's from LSE, London School of Economics, and is also a Kauffman Fellow. I think that's a recent. You joined the Kauffman program when 3-4 years ago?
24. I joined last year.
There we go. Okay, because I knew you were going through the program previously. So
yeah.
now it's official. Congratulations.
Thank you.
VentureSouq is a UAE-based investment platform focused on early-stage technology companies, both regionally and globally. Launched in 2013, VentureSouq organically built a network of over 1,000 angel and institutional investors, creating one of the largest venture platforms in the region and one of the largest kind of portfolios period in the entire MENA region. I think over 160 companies now. Right?
Yeah.
VentureSouq develops a rich educational content around venture investing and delivers it via a number of programs through the MENA region. So that's Sonia. Super impressive background. It's remarkable. I remember when you were venturing, pun intended, into the venture space. And can you tell us how you happened upon this platform and VentureSouq? I think originally it started off when I had visited you in Dubai. It was kind of more or less an informal thing that you were working on with a few colleagues, which grew into a larger organization and a proper kind of thing that you've been working on fully. Can you tell me about what you were doing prior to VentureSouq and how did you get into it?
Yeah, totally. So I'm a total accidental venture capitalist. It's definitely not part of my plan. I also don't really believe in plans. So this was not meant to be. I worked at Microsoft, as you know, with our dear friends, Tom Aviston and Fritz Landman and Charlie Songhurst back in the day. And then, so I basically was part of the strategy and M&A team with Fritz. Then I joined Viacom in their strategy team covering emerging markets. Right. So we were covering Russia, Central Eastern Europe, Middle East, Africa, India, focusing on, MTV, Comedy Central, Nickelodeon. Right. And then I moved to Dubai in 2011 and with Viacom. And after a year, decided to join Turner Broadcasting, which is funny because I had always thought that I would end up in journalism. And that's why I studied politics, undergrad and grad, thinking I would, be the next Christian Amanpour. And then got sidetracked.
You still could be.
Maybe. Tonight on BizPod Ninja. So anyway, I got sidetracked by Microsoft. Thanks, Fritz. And that was kind of the end of my journalistic aspirations. So ironically that I ended up at Turner because obviously Turner owns CNN. And then while I was at Turner, started angel investing with a bunch of friends who are now my partners. And we were doing this on the side from our day jobs. And what we found, and this is again 2013, right? So the ecosystem in this region is nascent as it is, but 7 years ago, obviously, it was way nascent, right? So when we started investing together, what we found was that there were a lot of young professionals and friends of ours who were interested in investing in this space as well, but no one really had a platform to do so. So we just started hosting informal pitch nights, essentially, where we'd pick 3 entrepreneurs we thought were interesting and then just have them pitch, and whoever wanted to invest could invest directly into the companies themselves. Right. And then we just grew exponentially through word of mouth, like zero PR, zero marketing. People, like friends, just brought their friends. And then fast forward 7 years on, we have grown into the largest syndicate in the region. And we invest, I guess.
Before we get there, who came up with the name VentureSouq? I'm curious how.
I don't remember. When we started, we called it Venture Hub. I know it was called Venture Hub initially.
Yeah.
And then I don't know. I don't remember, to be honest. I do remember thinking, like all of us thinking, it needs to have like a Middle Eastern kind of, persona in a way. So obviously Souk makes sense. But yeah, it's a fantastic name in retrospect.
It's a great name. Essentially, it is, your syndicate is a marketplace in a way as well. So
there's a marketplace of ventures, exactly. So that's kind of how we started. So basically, 4 friends got together and started VentureSouq. And the fact that we're still very close friends 7 years on is a testament to the resilience of our relationships.
That's right.
Not easy to work with friends sometimes.
Yeah. No, it either works super well or it's a complete disaster. Interesting. So can you tell me a little bit about some of your most notable investments, like early on, and kind of maybe some that you're most proud of as of late?
Yeah. I mean, our mandate is global. We focus on early stage, but really I would say our sweet spot is Series A. But we have invested from seed all the way up to pre-IPO, actually, because of the syndicate model. Because
pre-IPO. That's much later stage. So
no, I know, but that's what I'm saying. Because we have such a large pool of investors with different risk profiles and appetites, what we're good at is putting our ear to the ground and understanding what the needs are, and then basically filtering the opportunities based on that. So even from a kind of a business operational standpoint, we don't just send an email. Like if you're on our distribution list, it's not like you just get like a monthly email saying, hey, Andreas, like here are the 20 opportunities that you can invest into. No. Like I will know that Andreas is specifically interested in Latin America, is specifically interested in mobility, is specifically interested in fintech. And I will only share with Andreas those deals that are relevant to him. If Andreas says, hey, I'm sector agnostic, then I'll say, okay, then I'll share, whatever opportunities come across our desk. So this is the way we operated over the last 7 years. Now, as we've matured as an organization, what's happened is that our investor base has also matured alongside us, right? Which has been beautiful for us to see. So they're starting to find niches and pockets that they want to start focusing on. So we're moving away now from the deal by deal, and we're kind of heading more towards thematic. So right now we have 3 main pillars that we're focused on. One is regional fintech, so MENA plus Pakistan fintech. One is YC, so we invest in each of the YC batches. And then the third is Conscious Collective, which is a new impact vehicle that we launched in March.
Got it. No, that's great to know. In terms of, can you give me an example of each, like a company that fits in each one of those themes that you've worked on as of late that you'd like to share?
Yeah, I mean, regional fintech is not launched yet, but I mean, regional fintech, I think is pretty self-explanatory. We invest in a company called Dappy, for example, which is open banking. We invested in another company called MamoPay, which is essentially our version of Venmo. So those are like examples on the kind of regional fintech front. There's a lot happening on the regional fintech front here, right? Because there's a lot of catching up to do as well. I think what's interesting about the pandemic is that it's accelerated this digital transformation, right? So the velocity of this transformation is happening at a much quicker pace. And so, everyone talks about digital transformation this and digital transformation that, but this really kind of was a catalyst for the banks and the corporates to really start implementing rather than just, theorizing about what digital transformation would look like. So that's regional fintech.
One quick question. I know Dubai has a financial hub, or like they have a special taxation zone for startups and financial hubs. What's it called again?
Free zones.
Free zones, all right.
You have free zones,
Yeah, are a lot of the fintech players in the region, are they establishing their companies as part of that UAE or Dubai free zone? How does the landscape look locally?
I mean, they're multiple. So when I worked at Turner and at Viacom, the offices were in Media City.
Got it.
My friends at Facebook and LinkedIn were in Internet City. So these are all individual thematic free zones. With regards to fintech, you have several options. So obviously there's GIFC, which is kind of our version of.
That's the one that I recall
Yeah.
mostly. Yeah.
But then Abu Dhabi is also huge now. So you have ADGM now, Abu Dhabi Global Markets. So you can get licensed there as well. Obviously, the UAE is 7 Emirates. Everyone talks about Dubai and Abu Dhabi, but Sharjah actually is extremely active as well. Smaller Emirate, but making its headway in the ecosystem as well. So that's how it works typically. Is the companies will set up their offices in one of the free zones, the tech companies. And actually we set up, I'll do a plugin now, but it's a free tool. So for the entrepreneurs that are interested in expanding their operations to the UAE, we partnered with Latham & Watkins, the law firm, and we created a free zone navigator. So literally it just lists out all the free zones and you can compare them in pricing, etc. And it's based on the type of business that you have. Exactly. Because initially when we started our business, even like it was all Excel based. Like I had this massive Excel sheet trying to compare the costs of setting up in Dubai versus Ras Al Khaimah versus Abu Dhabi versus Fujairah. And then within Dubai, all these different free zones. Wow. So yeah, check it out. freezonenavigator.com.
Free zone, for everyone listening, freezonenavigator.com. I'll add that to the description later when we publish it. Cool. And then in terms of, tell me a little bit about your impact fund.
Yeah. So,
right? That's
my baby. Yeah. That's really what I'm focused on right now. It's something I've been wanting to do for a while. I just didn't feel like this market was ready. This market is still very two-pocket thinking, right? One very deep pocket for philanthropy, one very deep pocket for for-profit, companies and investments. And so I had consulted for Acumen 4 years ago. So I'd been part of kind of that impact investment echo chamber, and obviously through VentureSouq, we have the traditional VC. What we're doing with Conscious Collective, which is the name of the impact vehicle, is really kind of we're at the nexus of that. So what we're saying is that we're looking at deals exactly the same way that VentureSouq commercially looks at deals. We're just hyper-focused on sectors that we feel are underserved from a capital injection standpoint. So ed tech, ag tech, financial inclusion, health tech, environmental tech. These are the 5 pillars that we're focused on. So it wasn't intentional for us to launch amidst the pandemic because we launched in March. But yeah, it's a syndicate. It's a syndicate of like-minded folks from this region. It's really kind of the first of its kind, to be perfectly frank. Awesome. And I think it's a beautiful way to nurture the next generation of mission-driven investors coming out of this region. So 2020, I'm really focused on educating the market. And so that's why Conscious Collective is kind of the investment vehicle. We're also launching later this year a fellowship program, so a Conscious Investor Fellowship program with 2 other partners. And that'll be, buy invite 20 investors from the region. And again, training the next generation of mission-driven investors coming out of this region. So that's the focus for this year. And we'll have a portfolio of 10 companies, inshallah, by the end of the year.
That's amazing. Congratulations on that. That's super special. That's an amazing program. I'm when you first told me that, I was like surprised that this is like the first of its kind in the region. So total hats off to you, Sonia. How does VC differ in the Middle East compared to, let's say, Silicon Valley or Europe and your experience? There's probably some nuances. What are those nuances?
Well, as I said earlier, the ecosystem here is definitely nascent. It's made huge headways over the last 7 years, but I don't think you can compare this ecosystem to Silicon Valley necessarily. And I don't think you should, to be perfectly frank, either. I mean, I think every ecosystem has its own dynamic and should have its own dynamic.
Each one is its own snowflake. I get that.
Yeah, exactly. But that said, I do think, again, because of the pandemic, that it's accelerated now what's happening in this region, which is why we're seeing some really interesting plays being done in the fintech space, in the ed tech space, in the health tech space, all the spaces that everyone's looking at right now, right? Obviously, we've also had a few major exits, which has put MENA on the map. So Kareem, which was our version of Uber, our local Uber, started by Magnus and Mudassir Sheikha.
Were you guys investors in Kareem or no?
It was before we started VentureSouq, unfortunately.
Got it.
Fantastic co-founders though, both of them.
What was the exit What was the exit of that? I think it was definitely a unicorn, right? It wasn't like a couple.
It was acquired for $3.1 billion.
3.1. Okay. My mind, I was thinking around 2, but wow, even more. 3.1. Okay.
Yeah, it's the largest. So So yeah, so obviously when you hear about these types of deals being done now,
Yeah.
it's and the thing with the thing with this region also, what's interesting is that it's really geographically at the crossroads as well. So where we add value to our portfolio companies is when they want to expand to this region, whether it be Egypt, whether it be Saudi, etc. So we've helped one of our Swiss portfolio companies expand to Saudi. We helped one of our Chinese fintech companies expand to the region, and I think that's what makes the UAE, for example, very special, is that it really is kind of an intersection for people who want to do business with India, with Africa, with Europe.
That's right.
It's a nice base to have.
Yeah, no, I every time I think about where, if the Middle East as a region, or, or a potential location for that, Dubai and the UAE is just like the number one spot that companies look at, and is a great platform for getting into other areas of the region. So how do you think about other, adjacent countries like Egypt or Turkey, where, they're considered maybe, Turkey's not it's a kind of a hybrid. It's not really considered the Middle East. It's kind of considered, well, it's maybe Middle East, somewhat Europe, and then Egypt, Northeastern African, but also Middle Eastern. It's like, how do you think Dubai kind of fits across the entire region?
Most people think about starting their business out of Dubai, but typically their next, they have their eye on Saudi specifically.
Saudi. Yeah.
Because obviously it's a much larger market than the UAE. Egypt is obviously humongous.
Huge.
So that's another huge market. I mean, it's basically Egypt and Saudi are the two main markets that most Dubai-based companies or UAE-based companies want to eventually expand to. What's been interesting recently is there's a keen interest in VCs here looking at Pakistan, and not at India, but at Pakistan specifically, and looking at Africa. We're seeing a broadening kind of the remits happening. Yep. They're not, they're still like a majority of their investments are still very much kind of, MENA focused. Yeah. But we're seeing integration of Pakistan and Africa. So, we're looking at deals with, we've always, focused on global. So, but it's nice that now we're able to share deals with our colleagues at some of the other VCs who are now looking at some of the same markets that we've always looked at.
Amazing. What's your investment focus in light of COVID? Has anything changed at VentureSouq, or is it still business as usual? What are some areas, and you mentioned before Fintech, you mentioned the Impact Project. Can you tell our listeners, what is it that you're specifically, if there is a particular startup out there, or somebody who has particular deal flow, what they should be sharing with you today?
Yeah, I mean, obviously our focus right now is regional fintech and global, what I call conscious investments. I'm a bit wary of using the word impact investments because it's so heavily loaded.
Got it. Conscious
investment, like obviously that. Regional fintech, I think we're ideally placed to, we'll see all the deal flow that comes through. Right. I guess for the other investors, if you're coming across interesting deals coming out of any market internationally, but really I think dealing with challenges, with meaningful challenges that are, and ventures that are going to have an actual, long-term positive legacy. That's right. What I personally would like to see for Conscious Collective, because I think if anything, what the pandemic has highlighted is that we need to invest more in healthcare. We need to invest more in financial inclusion. Right. We need to invest more in the environment. And so that's why, in a way, there was a silver lining with us launching in March, even though it wasn't intentional. Not easy to fundraise amidst a pandemic, I can tell you that. But people get it. Like, people understand that this is important and that we need to start, funneling our dollars towards ventures that are totally for profit and will generate a financial return, but that are actually going to have a meaningful, positive legacy on this planet and our society as well.
Got it. Thank you. One final question. We're at the tail end of the show, and thanks again for making the time. I know it's late for you there in Dubai, so we'll wrap up shortly. Is being a woman, like, in venture capital in the Middle East, does it come with any kind of particular nuances or challenges for female listeners out there?
So it's true that there are not many female investors in the Middle East. I can probably count them on my two hands. That said, I think there is a misconception about female entrepreneurs here. I think there was data from ArabNet from 2 years ago where they found that actually the number of funded startups that were either female-led or had one female co-founder was at 14%, which is actually higher than in the US.
Wow.
So yeah. So there is a misconception that, for whatever reason, that maybe it's harder for women. This is me speaking as Sonia. I can't speak on behalf of the entire kind of entrepreneurial community in this region. I personally have not seen it, but at the same time, I am a woman myself. So obviously, when I look at a deal, like it's genderless for me. Like I don't even think of male versus female founder. It doesn't even cross my mind. So I get that what I'm saying is completely biased.
Yeah.
But as a female investor, no. Do I feel like different or anything? No. I mean, I am treated the same way as any other investor, and it's not more difficult for me.
Okay.
So yeah, no, I think there are misconceptions around this. But I mean, yes, I would like to see more female investors.
That's what. Exactly. That's where I'm kind of getting at. Like, why aren't there more? And is that a result?
Well, why aren't there more anywhere? Like, why aren't there more in the US? And why aren't there more? So I mean, if you look at VentureSouq, at the 4 founding partners, 2 of them are female, myself included, and we're both called Sonia, by the way.
That's right.
So I would say yes, maybe we're a bit of an outlier because half of our founding partners are female. Right. And that has trickled down because we have like half of our team is actually female in general. But I think we will see more of that as well. I mean, you have Ambar, who's amazing at Ipthakar in Palestine. She runs a fund out of Palestine. Mm-hmm. You have Heather Henian, who handles Mindshift Capital here. She focuses solely on investing into female-led ventures. You have Alyssa Freha. I mean, you have, quite a few. Obviously, you have Sonia, my colleague, Sonia Gokhly. So, Noor Suede is another one. I mean, they are. But I think there is definitely room for more.
Amazing. Thank you for all these insights, Sonia. You're a true business ninja, a true corp dev ninja. Thank you very much for all the wisdom that you have here today. It's great to hear from you. And it's nice to know that you're doing well. And, you've got the garden, you've got the cat, you've got the step plank. You're in high spirits. Everything is good. We're going to get through COVID.
Everyone is going to think I'm like some weirdo that does 80s exercises with my step, like 80s music and like a leotard.
Well, now that you've painted it that way, I think people will. All right, Sonia, thank you so much for taking the time. And everyone, thank you for tuning in. We had a special edition today of the show. We had to do it on Zoom. Social Live was not able to connect to for the streaming aspect into Dubai for some reason. So this is an extra unique show and episode. We have Sonia on, amazing female venture capitalist from VentureSouq, providing truths from the trenches. Thank you, Sonia.
Thank you. Have a nice day, everyone.
Thank you.